Oh, hello. My name is Paul Shelley, and welcome to another Office Hours. Capsule. That's right, a small section of my Office Hours live stream that I do on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub live. Would love to have you come join us live and join chat here, who's going to lie and tell you that it's pre-recorded. But we're going to be doing our monthly report, the monthly report for April of 2025. If you do enjoy this, well, we'll get to the end. I will give you the context real quickly, though, that this monthly report is specifically not a summary. I will not be summarizing this. I will be reading it word for word. And I'll be adding context based off of my own experience with reading these monthly reports, which I've been doing so for several years, to give you some feedback, because they'll say, oh, you know, as we said in last month's report or 2 months ago, to give you kind of an idea of what's going on and what CIG is saying. This now has become the best source for information on what CIG is working on, since everything else that CIG does is now more focused and concentrated on like immediate changes. This will tell us a lot of those things. If you're like, I want to know what CIG is working on, they can't just be making content. They aren't. They're doing more of this, and we'll see this in this report. Without any further ado, let's get into the PU monthly report for April of 2025. Welcome to April's PU monthly report with UEN and Victus. I hate that. But I hate that. When it says UEN, I'm like, it happens in some of the lore videos. Like when I look at the resources, they say UEN like that, and I can't say it right. It sounds weird when I go UEN. It's like UN, like UEE Navy, okay? With the UEE Navy Invictus fleet and currently preparing to make its jump to Stanton, most teams touch the upcoming festivities throughout the month. However, a lot of work was done towards features and content coming later this year. Read on for more details. AI content. Let me turn down the volume a little bit so you can. Yep. All right. AI content. The AI content spent the majority of April preparing for the release of Alpha 4.1.1, including the communications that players can now receive from mission givers. Although seemingly straightforward, the underlying tech required to implement it is within the various connected systems was highly complicated. The team also supported this development by preparing the captured audio and animation files in DataForge, so the designers could implement them into mission logic. In keeping with the general directive of looking for more ways to convey PU's overarching stories, the team worked on a new approach that, when implemented, will be exciting new way to update players on storylines and events. That's probably the news brief stuff that they showed off in an ISC a while back. AI content also continued to refine NPC behavior packs and prototype lines for design to incorporate into future mission events. Once refined, these scripts will be approved for capture. AI features. Last month, AI features focused on refining the juvenile Valakar. Improvements include changing its idle roam behavior and navigation mesh to reduce likelihood of it getting stuck. A cooldown was added to its melee attacks, with the creature now re-evaluating targets during the cooldown. Issues were fixed with the Valakar not looking at its target when emerging from the ground too. Technology developed for the juvenile Valakar also proved useful throughout April. Now values can be set in DataForge, general purpose data editing tool, and past subsumption, behavior scripting engine. Previously, these values would be set up in subsumption itself, meaning that it was hard for the designers to adjust the setup and create variations. By exposing more behavior values, such as attack ranges, timeouts, and use of specific melee and projectile attacks, the designers can rapidly create variants for specific scenarios and gameplay needs. For human combat AI, focus was on first reactions and escalation, including resolving bugs with a new system, adding and refining new reaction wildlines, and implementing new methods for controlling which events NPCs respond to. The latter is useful for specific combat scenarios where NPCs are required to focus on particular tasks rather than getting drawn into combat. Refinement and polish continued to uncompromised cover reactions, while new prototype technology was implemented to lower weapons when friendly fire is detected. So the compromised cover reactions is a big one. Basically, if your cover gets started to get shot away, the AI will move away. So if they're in cover and you blow away their cover, they'll leave. So with Maelstrom, that's a big key. So that's been a big thing they've been talking about for the last couple of months, is that. It looks like they're dialing in the AI's reactions behaviors, which is nice. Interesting to see the Valakar stuff, especially since the progress report mentioned that there are going to be new creatures and new events in the near future. So, AI Game Intelligence Development Division. In April, the Game Intelligence Development (GID) team worked on various StarScript improvements, including allowing users to right-click task extension links and search for an existing task to connect to it. They also added engine scrolling to the editor when dragging links and implemented the ability to add a task between two others without manually reconnecting them. For StarScript, the first pass on the master graph visualization and editing was completed. GID also delivered their vision for a new tool currently called Destiny Profiler. This prototype will help validate the visual presentation of the tool, the use of thresholds on metrics, and how to interact with multi-resolutions. Finally, the team continued their research in discussions in mission system. The objective remains to provide the designers with tools to help them easily create entering missions for players. Okay, so that's the thing. On the mission system, they put it in quotations, is the thing that they've been working on for a while. That's Elliot's team. And their main focus is to create missions, the new mission system, to be able to have more control. Effectively, the system they've had up to this point, the mission team had to create bespoke modules and then plug them in, and they couldn't use a lot of these modules individually. Now, with the new systems that they're developing, they're basically creating smaller modules and getting other things like AI and other like packs that they can then swap in and out to create new mission variation and new mission development. So that's one of the reasons why we're seeing a lot of the focus being on content this year, is because all of the missions they're developing with these new content storytelling are prototypes. They're designed as early use so that they can then turn around and use them for other missions in the future and diversify missions as they go along. AI tech. AI tech progressed with the Pathfinder system, making various improvements in cleaning up requests involving multiple start and end locations, based on the path's start orientation. The devs can now readjust the initial animation for better continuation when exiting a usable. For the movement system, AI tech are improving chase target requests to allow for chasing of ground vehicle targets alongside NPCs. The challenge with this is that the position of a ground vehicle could be outside the navigation mesh triangle. That's interesting. Multiple improvements were also made to both triangle mesh-based navigation and voxel 3D-based navigation. For triangle mesh triangle generation, issues were fixed that were propagating problems with pathfinding and navigation raycasts. For the 3D voxel-based navigation, the team began utilizing the resulted voxels and mesh to improve ship AI collision avoidance. On the subsumption side, the team continued to create synchronizing and serializing subsumption behavior state and behavior variables. Various bugs were fixed for ship AI, some relating to newly exposed functionality like flight mode, and the spawning and despawning of voids. Improvements were made to cover generation 2, such as excluding door entities from cover generation process and reducing the amount of generated for long walls. The team is currently checking ground surface inclination to discard cover in areas that are not almost flat. The new, quote, nav spline, quote, a creator, unquote, tool was implemented to allow for designers to record player ship movements and transform the capture data into nav spline that can be utilized by ship AI. StarScript functionality was also extended as requested by the designers, creating new missions and behaviors. Someone asked, is this in a previous one? In a previous interaction I had, like, does this mean that you can actually call your ship down to land with you? And no, I think this nav spline creator is more of a how do players fly, and they're going to copy that and put it into their AI. It's not the first time they've done it. They've done it a couple of times where they've taken player data and tried to process it into the AIs themselves. The difference is that typically when you're doing it with in the past, they had to do it like by hand. This sounds like they're creating a tool to be able to capture this naturally and put it in there. But I could be wrong, and feel free to correct me in the comments below. Animation. Last month, the animation team continued to support the studio-wide initiative of focusing on content for the PU. They also progressed with the Valakar, supported various new mission givers and world NPCs, and began working on a new creature. Art ships. Okay, here's the big ones. In the EU, the team focused on closing out tasks for Invictus launch week, including 3 new ships planned for the release at the event. The Misk Starlancer was also completed for its upcoming flyable release. Progress was also made on 4 unannounced vehicles. The first is progressing through white box towards full production, while the second is approaching gray box review and LOD0 complete. The third, which is briefly shown in the recent episode of Inside Star Citizen, is progressing through concept. The fourth vehicle, the first in a while from an existing manufacturer, has been formally kicked off. The Consolidated Outland Pioneer continues through pre-production and white box phases. Modular kits were solidified alongside some structural changes to improve the flow and movement throughout the ship. The team also continued to define the core visual elements to inject the Consolidated Outland art style. Numerous paints were also created for the new and existing ships for release in coming events. The North American content team began closing out 2 new variants with polishing and bug fixing. An all-new ship progressed too, with the recent decisions being made on the cargo capacity and tractor beam placement. The RSI Apollo continued through the gray box phase, with new concepts for Med Bay area and bridge. New concepts? Interesting. So, RSI Apollo, that's its next thing. And if it's in gray box phase, its next phase is LOD 0, and then it's final art, and then release. It can take a while for it to go through gray box, a couple of months. But I think it left into gray box in like February, I want to say. So it's still on track, unless something goes crazy, to be able to make it to release by the end of the year. And yes, the cargo bay and tractor beam placement sounds like a new hauler. That's almost certain. Finally, for ships, work continued on the RSI Perseus to define its interior look and feel and ensure it functions as intended. The Perseus has been in like gray box for a while now. I wouldn't be surprised if by next month we see it into LOD 0, if not by May or June, I'd say. I still think that the Perseus is likely on track for like an August, September release of this year. But people have asked me, do you think it's coming out? Yeah, I still think it's coming out. I think it's coming out this year. But I doubt that they would release it at the same time as the Ironclad, because those are 2 of around the same size ships, and CIG usually doesn't like releasing similar size ships at the same time. Community. The community team began April supporting Triggerfish, including a parody patch notes for the scaled-down Easy Have Hangar Commander map. Arena Commander map. They also supported Spring Celebration and Free Fly. They then published an Alpha 4.0 Test Universe Champions, honoring players whose testing efforts made greater impact during the PTU phase. The team then announced the first series in PTU stress tests, which provided valuable feedback to development as progress continued on the next major update. CitizenCon Direct was also announced, which will take place the place of our traditional in-person event, which, based off of CIG's financials, probably one of the reasons why they're not doing an in-person event is because it's expensive, and they need to be cutting back on some of their expenses to focus on the game. The team is currently focused on planning and preparing for an exciting event alongside a variety of other events. The community continues to collaborate closely with development, analyzing feedback from across channels and forwarding valuable insights to the appropriate teams. Meanwhile, efforts continue to provide general publishing support, ensuring cohesive messaging, consistency across public-facing channels, and the timely delivery of key beats. In addition to evergreen tasks such as This Week in Star Citizen, bi-weekly roadmap updates, and roundups, and the monthly refresh of the Arena Commander schedule, the team also supported the ongoing System 7 race series presented by Atmo Esports. Finally, community supported the Squad 42 newsletter's Vandal Interpreter contest, which yielded some truly creative and terrifying submissions, as participants offers their best rendition of the Vandal language. All right, this is the next big one, core gameplay. This is where you're going to hear a lot about the features which are being developed, but you won't see until later this year. Several of the core gameplay teams began the month stabilizing and improving the new space-themed missions for Alpha 4.1.1. This included closing out the first iteration of several new features, such as communication notifications and new mission rewards. Outside of new content, the team continued to monitor feedback from the PTU to address community concerns as quickly as possible. As always, we are infinitely thankful for the players who take their time to contribute to testing leading up to release. Core gameplay team. Recent tasks following feedback included investigating new issues with quantum travel and reoccurring problems with freight elevators, ship claiming, and inventory flow. Yeah, that's a problem. Those are all problems. Those are probably the biggest problems outside of the transport missions and the mission stuff that needs to be addressed for the year of stability to, in my mind, be considered to be more successful. Excuse me. I'm still getting over a cold, so if that sounds like my voice is gone, it's because it is. Elsewhere, the team analyzed performance captures, seeing where the gains could be made for both client and server frame rates, especially focusing on new content. There are several more ongoing initiatives across the core gameplay teams that are either for the next few releases, longer term, or for Squad 42. However, much of the work done for Squad 42 will also be relevant to Star Citizen, so these teams work across both projects. I constantly reiterate this to people, but it's always important to kind of talk about that Squad 42 and Star Citizen are the same project. So anything that's done for Squad 42 is also done for Star Citizen. There are cases like the quantum travel, which is, and I think they say it later in this one, the only thing that the new quantum travel is being waiting on is multiplayer support. It's basically done, it's being fiddled with in Squadron, but the reason why it's not in Star Citizen is because it's not really set up for server meshing yet. It's been mostly focused on Squadron. So they still haven't had the chance to port it over to Star Citizen. But almost everything that's in Star Citizen now is in Squadron and possibly started its life in Squadron and then got moved over, like the new HUD systems, the new map systems, all of that stuff. Elsewhere, core gameplay added updates to the engineering UI screen, including countdown warnings for catastrophic explosions, and reinstated and advanced the diagnostic screen MFD. They have been doing a lot of work on engineering screens. The engineering HUD has gone through extensive updates over the last 2 months. Like last month, it was a ton of stuff. Further improvements were made to ship death. For example, fatal damage behaviors now require a significant impact. In addition, catastrophic misfires can now be triggered by nearby items failing due to severe damage. Improvements to deactivating soft death were also completed, and its effects can be enabled separately. So soft death can now be brought back from. For flight experience, the team enabled the new space flight mode in their feature streams. They're currently resolving bugs related to AI ship motion alongside outstanding work for takeoff and landing experience. Several new game modes were added to allow them to test the new flight model in the future. Due to the data setup, both the new and existing models can be tested separately without affecting each other. That is what the new flight blades are. This new flight experience, I talked about it last month. Basically, you can turn off the IFCS entirely. So there's a lot more granular control over what you can do as a pilot for the fly-by-wire systems. For those of you who do Elite Dangerous, the flight assist off is what I'm guessing they're shooting for. Okay. An overhaul of control surface tech began. As such, flying in atmosphere and especially gliding is now much more realistic thanks to believable aerodynamic behaviors, such as the nose following in turns or accurate drag on large AOAs. Especially in regards to changing atmospheric densities, there's still outstanding work on the control systems and interaction with thrusters and the AI systems. Control surface update. April also saw an update to the new quantum tech. In addition to adding a slow speed variant of quantum boosting, the devs resolved several bugs and improved reliability and performance. It also features improved ways for the mission designers to control the flow for AI ships. Further work will focus on improving current experience and make it compatible with multiplayer. That was the big one. That's when I read this earlier. I saw that. I was like, aha, yeah. Core gameplay optimized the scan wave mechanics to be as responsive as possible, with focus on overwhelming contact environments where hundreds of thousands of contacts are processed in the short period. I believe the scan wave is the ping system. Alongside this, the team continued to polish FPS radar and scanning gameplay via regular playtests. April's work included adjusting the detection formula, highlighting visuals, and disabling the influence signature system to improve it to better serve the intended gameplay. The team then made improvements to inclusion checks, such as adding a mechanic to skip checks for radar contacts within the same room. This allows for a smoother flowing experience when searching for items or objects out of the direct line of sight, which would previously require fully charged scan to detect. Lastly, the team iterated on the box-out display for radar contacts, optimizing and refining marker placement. Design also began setting up which objects will be detected by radar and scanning in the PU. So yeah, a lot of the scanning stuff's coming in. So if you're wondering what the flight and like the changes to how your ship shows up, it's likely because of these changes that they're doing. Now, am I saying that this is going to be coming out tomorrow? No. I hope it's coming out in June. I have a feeling it's coming out in June, but I also have this CIG feeling in the back of my head, which is like, it's coming out at the end of the year, last moment. All of these features are going to come out so CIG can say they added new features like engineering, scanning, which if you have engineering and scanning, you have FPS scanning, you have fire, you have, death, you have, like a death, being able to repair from death and all those sorts of things. Lastly, the team iterated on, okay, I already got that one. Several major bugs were fixed, including one causing the Misk Hull C to spawn with its spindle extended, which prevented flight in certain ports. A commodities issue stopping ships being selectable as a destination was fixed too. For refineries, the team added the location inventory to the list of resources and destinations. While refining no longer consumes the ore bag, so it can be reused. For cargo, items placed on grids now take item pivot into consideration for data if the data is available. So yes, a lot of good stuff there. Economy. Last month, the economy team were involved in a new content coming in Alpha 4.1.1, including items and vehicles for Invictus. They also supported the design of several new mission archetypes, some of which have a chance to impact the universe in a more permanent manner. The team then began looking into making an economy more dynamic, testing various things. We are studying different economic models from history and fiction to get a better impression of how the economy will feel when it's fully fledged. It's a freaking mixed economy, y'all. The UEE has economics teacher. UEE has lots of regulatory usages and then clearly has the control of the money supply. I wouldn't be surprised if and we know that there's a central bank, the UEE central bank, which probably controls the money flow similar to the Fed. So yeah, and that makes the most sense anyways, because you want to have your main political entity, the UEE, be able to heavily modify the rate of inflation through manipulating currencies. If that's all gibberish to you, just basically what, liberalism has today, like what you have today. Is that what I teach? I teach 101 economics, macro and micro economics, basically intro. I also teach government and sometimes world history. The team also discussed the next iteration of item recovery and how it will influence the prices and exclusivity of different items. Work then continued on the back-end shop refactor that will provide the tools to start building a better shopping experience. Finally, the economy and data solution teams continue to create a comprehensive data plan to provide better and faster information about what players like the most. Honestly, CIG should just consult with an economist. I'm sure there's somebody who would love to work with them because it's not Eve. CIG, Star Citizen is not Eve. You don't need to have an economist on staff, but having an economist that they could hire, not me, don't ask me, professional, to at least give them an idea, like pitch them the world that they have, and the economist to go, oh, okay, well, how would this work? And then kind of come up with it. There's somebody who would love that job. I know there's people somewhere who would love that job. At least for like a contract work. That'd be great. So, Paul, no, not me. Somebody who has a PhD in this. The Darth Tux. With most of their recent fundamental tech work complete, the team focused on improving mission quality. For example, players in the PTU will see the return of comms and notifications. While the previous system used for Xenothreat and Siege of Orison was difficult to update and maintain, it's now a lot easier to implement content into the game. The team are planning to slowly roll this update across the game to globally improve mission quality. Neat. Alpha 411 will see a new mission types focused on PvE ship battles. These include Ambush, which will see players set up a trap to kill a priority target, and Patrol, where ship players travel between different coordinates to take on activities at each point. Work on these missions has also allowed the team to find and fix long-standing issues with spawning ship-based reinforcements, so ship wave missions should now function better. In April, a few of the designers began fixing missions that were missed in the Alpha 4.0 release. Hopefully, some of these will be good enough for state of release soon, but we are committed to the quality and stability of the mission design. Updates were also made to Wicklow, including the things that they were willing to trade. To prevent farming of rare components, ships rewarded by Wicklow will now only feature their unique paint, while the components will be added to the Emporium. So you're going to get a ship with no components? Interesting. Narrative. In April, the Narratives team main focus was on a suite of new missions and support for the Invictus launch week. Looking ahead, the team prepared for the next capture session, which involved confirming trigger lists with design, writing scripts, casting actors, and coordinating with the various downstream departments tasked with processing captured material. They will also be reducing unique dialogue for an upcoming event, as well as adding a new NPC archetype for the use across multiple missions. The team also entered the polish phase on locations that will be arriving later this year, improving the narrative flow of the area. Call me copium. Say I'm coping. All right? Say I'm high on hopium. I'm going to read this again. And I want you to tell me in chat or in comments what was just said. The team also entered the polish phase on locations that will be arriving later this year, improving the narrative flow of the area and helping the branding team with the final signage pass to create a more immersive environment. That's Nyx. It's got to be Nyx. It's got to be Nyx. It could be some new type of location that they're going to be adding to the universe, like they did with the asteroid bases. Okay. Additionally, they continue to work. This is the reason why I pay attention to lore, chat. Additionally, they continue to work on two new location archetypes guiding the design and art with backstory elements to help drive the tone as well as establishing story details. That's got to be nixed then. Holy shit. Because they just said, location archetypes, which is different from what they were saying before. That's got to be nixed. Also, with 2025 well underway, the team decided to dedicated time to progressing their 2026 planning, including new story opportunities. Finally, the narrative team made an appearance on Star Citizen Live to answer questions about this year's ongoing storylines. Polish for locations, why not Czech? Online technology. In April, the Live Tools team worked on various features, including new sanction types and improvements to scheduling global system messages. The network team delivered the entity teleport feature, which was used to move replicated entities that may or may not be streamed out. This enables systems like Respawn to directly reparent a player to a medical bed without needing to wait for it to stream in, streamlining and simplifying the respawn process. The team is currently finalizing related API. R&D. In April, various improvements were made to the lighting evaluation that's part of the cloud and atmospheric ray march. As such, energy fall-off function was generalized, and an extra highlight was added to separate center of bright lighting for much dimmer long-range impact. For dynamic weather, the temporal stability of the CPU accessible weather map was improved. Extra helpers for the CPU weather queries were implemented, and robustness was improved when creating query contexts. Work also began on adding texture streaming support for volumetric cloud and ground fog rendering. Sun disk rendering behind sufficiently dense planetary clouds was improved and should result in softer transitions than before. Similarly, the sun disk behind gas clouds should occlude correctly again. This fix corrects animated noise and banding that was observable when looking at dense clouds with the sun shining through. UI. Last month, the UI team worked to implement unique UI features for several upcoming vehicles. They also supported upcoming events and created environmental UI to support gameplay and storytelling. The VFX. Last month, the VFX worked on towards completing their tasks on vehicle and weapons for Invictus Launch Week. Pre-production VFX worked on beginning an upcoming major release, including locations, creatures, and weather. Okay. In summary, Apollo, Perseus, and the Apollo's in gray box, Perseus continuing in gray box, and the Pioneer is in white box phase. Let me look at the actual ships. Four unannounced vehicles. One is in white box. The second is gray box review and Log 0 complete. Third, which was shown in the briefly inside Star Citizen, which I think is the one of the fighters. The fourth is a existing manufacturer. First in a while for an existing manufacturer that's been formally kicked off. I think that's that's probably the Kruger ship. So 4 ships, including 2 we know of. And then also the North American team has 2 new variants and an all-new ship. So that is 7 ships in production, not including the 4 we know that are releasing at Invictus, including the TAC. The AI is undergoing with new creatures. So the biggest thing is new creatures, AI behavior. There's a lot of work in terms of features on ships entering and leaving, a whole new range of work on the on UI, especially for engineering, and real tweaks on FPS and general radar scanning techniques, as well as a lot of bugs and other fixings that they're doing for the game. Oh, and also quantum travel. It's getting its multiplayer integration. They're actually looking into making dynamic economy, looking into like how the dynamic economy should work. Mission tech updates with like features. So, you know, Siege of Orison's dead, Longward Siege of Orison. And then Nyx. I'm at risk of being overhyped, and feel free to tell me in the comments below. I don't see this as anything but a confirmation that Nyx is what they're working on right now. At least narrative and several of like maybe some of these creatures as well. I think they're working on Nyx. And Nyx shooting for the end of this year. I mean, it's something I've been saying for a while. I think I still see them doing Nyx at the end of this year, and this is not making it any less likely that they're working on Nyx. So I think Nyx is going to be at least previewed, if not fully released, at the end of the year. But let me know. If you did enjoy this, please hit that follow button, subscribe for more, hit the like button, subscribe for more videos like this, and hit the bell icon to be notified when it's released. And like I just said, let me know in the comments below. Am I just way too high on the hopium? This is a lot of information, a lot of good stuff. I'm going to have a hard time making the thumbnail for this one. I think I'm going to go with Nyx because that's the hypest one. But I may also put up some there for like some of the other like the ships and stuff like that, because that's always good. As always, come join us live at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, to join chat here live and talk about Star Citizen lore, news, and more in our office hours live stream. I'm also going to plug a little bit for if you want to go right up there. Watch, I've started a new ship review series where I'm going to go over every single ship in the Star Citizen and review it based off of a combination of sweaty number crunching, vibes based ideas, a little bit of lore, and my own sort of bad attempt at humor, to give you kind of an idea of what the ship should be good for and if it should be good for you based off of my opinion and what I can find. I covered the Aurora and the Mustang Alpha, the Aurora MR and Mustang Alpha, to compare what is the best budget baller ship in the Star Citizen universe. It's the Aurora MR. But not always. Watch the video. Check it out. I'll be doing another video on the Cutter soon. It'll be after this video comes out, but it should be available for members when it does come out. So thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.